Alexei Popyrin takes out Novak Djokovic in the third round of the US Open. Third time's a charm for Alexei Popyrin as finally he beats Novak Djokovic at a Grand Slam in 2024. And in 2024, Novak Djokovic goes slamless. Yes, he has a gold medal, which I'm sure he is happy with, but as we'll get to in a moment, he is left bitter without a Grand Slam in 2024. The wait for 25 will have to wait a bit longer. And will he ever get it at this point? He probably will. He'll have more of a focus on Grand Slams next season. And it's quite a bit of pill to swallow after such an enormous success last season. But his level was not there at all in these 3 matches that he played, and Popyrin coming off his title in Montreal was a bridge too far given that Djokovic was just not at the top of his game or anywhere close to it. Those double faults were crazy, about 14 or 16 double faults on big points, not capitalizing break points when he finally had chances. He should have probably had a break, should have been a breakup in the first set, didn't take his chances. Popyrin unleashed at 4-4, broke him and held his own serve and went on to win the first set. Second set, pretty similar. Djokovic woke up a bit in the third and fourth sets. However, when you're down 2 sets to begin with, you have to be almost perfect. Djokovic had a lot of break points, in particular in set number 4, and he wasn't able to take his chances. I'm pretty sure he had break points on all bar the final service game. So that's how it went. Djokovic was asked following the press conference. He said, "Congratulations to Popyrin and his team. He played better and deservedly won. From my side, as I felt and played since the start of the tournament, the third round is also a success. By far the worst serve ever. On such a fast surface with no serve, you can't beat him, especially against a guy as fit as Alexei. Terrible match for me." He goes on to say how compared to Paris, he lacked energy, wasn't fresh as mentally nor physically. He ran out of gas. However, he was saying that he actually wasn't tired per se, rather he just wasn't playing well at all. He was okay physically, he was motivated because it's a Grand Slam. However, his game was falling apart. He went on to say he felt like an amateur out there, and even though he must give props to Popyrin, he must admit also to himself that he played at a level where he didn't recognize himself out there. And that's not great considering it's the last slam, his last chance in 2024 to get slam number 25 and break that annoying tie with Margaret Court, which is not even relevant to the open era of tennis. But they keep mentioning it, they keep talking about it, and they won't stop talking about it until he finally wins slam number 25. It likely will happen in 2025, 25 in 2025. He was a step ahead having 24 in 2024 before he was even in 2024. So I would expect him to bounce back in 2024. He says at the bottom here, for the first time since 2017, Djokovic ends the season without winning a slam. He had a feeling he could win the title at Roland Garros, which is interesting because he was playing pretty well. He had some blips against Musetti and Cerundolo, but if it wasn't for that knee injury, he would have been, in my opinion, as he also believed, on his way to win a title there, or at least versus Carlos Alcaraz in the final. The Wimbledon final was not great. He played a better tournament, but the final itself was subpar. And the Olympics were his biggest goal. He played his best tennis there, and that's what he wanted to happen. But you also don't want to only have one good tournament for the season. But if that's how it is, he would have always chose the Olympics. So now Djokovic will return to Belgrade, and you'll see how he goes into the future. He now has Shanghai ahead of him. He might play the Davis Cup qualifier stage in Belgrade following the US Open. We'll see how that goes. As for Alexei Popyrin, he's got Francis Tiafoe next. And Popyrin, his backhand and slice still aren't the best shots, but his serve, forehand and movement continuing to improve. And that was seen in that Montreal win. And in this US Open, whoever wins that match might have a good chance of at least making a semi-final, given that Rublev has never made it out of a quarterfinal. So we'll see what happens. Jannik Sinner definitely the favorite to win the US Open from now on, but a lot of great players there. Zverev, Medvedev, you got Rublev, you got Dimitrov. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if Jannik Sinner, Zverev, or Medvedev win. That's not that crazy to say because those are the best remaining players, but I would see the winner being either one of those 3 players. And here I am unboxing another kit delivered by Soccerato's, fast delivered, reliable and quality football jerseys. This time a retro Argentina Diego Maradona inspired kit. It's pretty quality. I like it. You should check it out at Soccerato's. Use code SPORT for 10% off at checkout. So thank you for Soccerato's for sponsoring this video. So moving on, Novak Djokovic was asked if Alexei Popyrin can actually win the US Open. And, well, somewhat speaking in third person, he's just beaten the defending champion, Djokovic himself. He deserves credit for that and respect. The journalist kept nagging, saying, is Alexei Popyrin like a real deal here? Can he contend for the title? Or maybe not quite there already yet? Novak said, I just don't know what to make of that question. I mean, look, he's just beaten me, as said prior. If he serves well, plays well, he can beat anybody. Look, Alcaraz is out, I'm out. You know, some big upsets, draws opening up. As I said, Sinner's the favorite. You got Tiafoe, you got Fritz, you got Zverev, you got Rublev, you got Dimitrov. Anybody can take it. It's right. And it's really open. You can't even trust Sinner, for example. Sinner's a one-time slam winner, as is Medvedev. You can't trust these players. You can't even trust Djokovic nowadays to go all the way, all the time. So it might be one of those US Opens from the past where you get a random winner. A Cilic, a Dominic Thiem, Medvedev even, I guess. Not really as random, but you get my point. Moving on, Djokovic says, I try to be fair to my opponents. I don't make excuses. Popyrin played excellent tennis. When I don't have my serve, I can't play in the surface. He was saying it's really fast. He said he wasn't really training in a similar environment, similar surface, similar speed. Adjusting from the Olympics to this faster US Open surface is a big jump from clay to hardcourt within a 2-3 week period. He had his chances, but blew it pretty much. But albeit Popyrin has some crazy points, a lot of balls that dropped into the baseline, hit the baseline. Briefly here, 2002 was the last time no members of the Big Three won a Grand Slam title. And in 2024, for the first time, neither or none of the Big Three have won. Federer is now retired, so he's out of the picture. Nadal is borderline retired. Pretty much Djokovic is holding down the fort for the Big Three related records. So I wouldn't read too much into this. We already know the Big Three era is over and it's just more of how long can Djokovic last. But what is more interesting is the effect of the Olympics. Although all the women WTA players are alive, Zheng, Vekic and Swiatek, the men, Djokovic, Alcaraz, Musetti, the gold, silver and bronze medalists are all gone. And the effect, the fatigue, the emotional effort that was required, especially from these players, because they went deep at Wimbledon as well, and in Alcaraz's sake also won Roland Garros. So had a lot of fatigue coming into the US Open, and it's no surprise in hindsight that they struggled to play well at the US Open. And back-to-back nights in New York, and we see two of the biggest upsets in recent tennis history. You can paint it however you want, but Popyrin just beat greatest player of all time, 24-time Grand Slam champion, Olympic gold medalist. Alcaraz was the winner of the last two Grand Slams, silver medalist. He lost to a player who was contemplating retirement just a couple months ago. So it's pretty crazy. And related to that post, the tennis letter has a funny meme here, Djokovic and Alcaraz leaving New York together. And I would watch out for Djokovic and Alcaraz in the tail end of 2024 and leading into 2025, looking for a little bit of revenge because they're not used to losing so early into the Grand Slams. Even though Alcaraz is 16 years Djokovic's junior, he also is not used to it. And Djokovic has to fight to gain a spot in the Turin ATP finals. If he doesn't reach it, so be it. Who cares? He's won it 7 times. He's won it the last 2 times. But if I was Djokovic, I would be aiming to win 100 titles by the end of 2024. All that means is one more title. I don't care if it's in Belgrade. I don't care if it's at some random tournament, Shanghai, Paris Masters, any other tournament, Vienna. Get 100 titles and get it done because it's almost like an obstacle that you want to get rid of. You don't want to think about it too much and then focus on 25 Grand Slams again. Maybe it was too soon following the Olympic gold medal to be focusing on winning 25 Grand Slams. He had his chances at Wimbledon. He had his chances at the Australian Open even. Roland Garros, what happened there with the injury. He could have had a really good chance to win there. But that's how tennis goes. He won the gold medal. You can't win all the tournaments, even if you're Novak Djokovic. We saw that in the past with his attempts to win the calendar Grand Slam. And you can never rule out the calendar Grand Slam. These two players have the ability still to go 4 out of 4, to be honest. I'm not even joking. I wouldn't be surprised if Djokovic won all 4 Grand Slams next year. But within Carlos Alcaraz's next 15 years, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if he were able to win at least 4 Grand Slams in a row, whether that be in a calendar or a non-calendar setting, we'll see. Sinner, probably a bit less likely, but you get my point. Alcaraz and Djokovic, in my opinion, even though they got upset now, they still are the 2 biggest forces in tennis, coupled with Jannik Sinner on hard hard courts, Daniil Medvedev also on hard courts, and Zverev is a bit of an all-rounder. They're your top 5. They're going to be leading the tennis world for the next couple of years still. And we'll see what happens now in the US Open. A big shock. I wasn't expecting it, but when I think about it now, his serve was not good enough. He was making too many errors. Even though he had his chances to at least make a 5th set, it wasn't to be. And perhaps it's better he lost early on, save himself from some fatigue. And even though I would have backed him to increase his level of play, if he was playing at that sort of level, it wouldn't have gone all too well in the next round, even against Tiafoe. So that being said, we'll see what happens for the rest of the US Open in 2024. Until next time.